So you decided to venture into real estate after a successful career, public speaking, working with students and community organizations. Tell me how that transition into real estate started and what the next steps are here.
Yeah, so I got approached by Sotheby's International Realty, and they asked me if I would do a keynote for one of their big sales conferences. And I went in and I did a keynote and did my research and did a little bit of homework about what real estate was. And after I did the presentation, I talked about leadership and goal setting, but I also talked about the accessibility issues that I've found in real estate. Sure. And about a month after I did my keynote, Sotheby's came to me and said, hey, we've got an interesting idea. We've been looking at real estate from a different perspective. We like what you talked about, and we realized that there's a lack there in the accessibility side of residential real estate, and that it's not easy to find houses and it's not easy to list houses. So we'd like you to come in and help us with that. And I seriously thought if I come home and tell my wife I have a new career, she's going to be upset with me. But she bought into it, and Sotheby's actually sponsored me, and I went and I got licensed. And when I got licensed and then looked at this big thing, of real estate, I realized that the lack was that there was no way for a real estate broker to list the accessibility features of a home. Mm-hmm. And that was where the lack was, and that meant that people couldn't search for accessibility features in a home. And accessibility is this huge, broad definition of things that is individualistic for every single person. So what I did was I went to the MLS and said, hey, look, we need to change the system and change the database to allow people to list the accessibility features and the upgrades that they have in their home. Right. And the MLS went, that's challenging. There's a lot to it. So I actually went out and I researched every MLS in the country that had tried to do this, and I realized why they failed. They failed because they wanted to do too much. That there are so many aspects of what accessibility is that trying to put all that into a database is unrealistic. Sure. And I did my homework, and I came back, and the local MLS and I partnered up, and the Northwest MLS said, well, what would you recommend? And we recommended simplifying it. So there's just a series of fields that will list out the different types of accessibility features a home could have. Sure. And one of those, for example, is an entryway, and one is the kitchen and the master bath and the bedroom and the laundry room.
You work with a lot of state organizations. Tell me about some of the work that you've done there and how that's helped with this process.
So I've become an advocate for the disabled population, and I've been on the Governor's Committee for Disability Employment for the state of Washington, and I was on the Governor's Committee for the Secretary of State's Office for Disability Voting. So I've been involved in organizations from that side as an advocate. Okay. And I'm actually really excited. Just last week I swore in, and Governor Inslee here in the state of Washington actually just put me on the Building Code Commission. So the accessibility work that I'm doing with the MLS has now translated across where I've become the expert, and the state of Washington has come to me as the expert in accessibility, for the Building Code Council. So I'm pretty excited.
Congratulations, that's fantastic.
So they are translating across where the accessibility work that I've done and the advocacy work that I've done over the years is now literally relating itself to real estate by looking at it from a perspective that nobody has really done before. Right. And I've got to give kudos to the MLS. People will come to me and say, oh, why didn't they do this? The ADA passed 25 years ago. Well, they didn't do it because they didn't know how to do it. And if they had done it, they would have done it wrong. Yeah. And now they've partnered up with us, and we're working on this from the accessibility and the disability and the real estate side, and the MLS is now about ready to launch this. And it's really exciting that we're doing it at the right time with the right infrastructure behind it.
Right. So Washington's basically leading the charge for the whole country with your work and with Sotheby's, and this is pretty exciting for all of us.
It is. Washington is leading it, and the Northwest MLS will be the first to really do this right. And MLSs around the country are watching what we're doing. It's really exciting. Sure. Yeah.
So what do you think the feasibility is of rolling this out on a nationwide scale? Is it a function of seeing how well we do it here and how, what the hurdles might have been, or are there other states in line that you're talking with already?
Yeah, right now there's hundreds of MLSs in the country. I know that there's 15 that are watching. Okay. And there's some hub MLSs that are larger than others, and they're watching to see what we're doing. And they're all working on it, but because we're leading the charge and because we're really on the front line of pushing this out, they're watching to see what the Northwest MLS will do, and with Sotheby's, and actually John L. Scott has been helping as well. well, that I partnered up with them because they have been working on this as well. So this isn't just one person trying to change the system. It's the system wants to be changed, and there's a group of us that are working on it together, and it's really exciting.
That's great. Well, I think anymore it requires a lot of collaboration, a lot of great minds coming together instead of one person trying to lead the charge, because clearly that may have been the case in the past and it wasn't successful.
That's true, and what's really fun now is that it's spanning across, it's not just accessibility. There's been a misinterpretation of what accessibility is, and understandably so, because in the past, accessibility meant a grab bar, a ramp, and a stale bathroom with white tile that looks like a hospital. Right. And that's not the case, because the new universal design and with the new features that are out there, accessibility can be hidden in universal design. And the whole age in place idea of somebody who wants to live in their home for a longer period of time, they need to look forward as what things might I need. And now the new features and the new opportunities with universal design and with some of the cool infrastructure in place to support the architecture, there's some really cool features that you can do to homes that you wouldn't even notice that they were accessible. Right. But in the past, real estate brokers have been afraid to list that their home has accessibility features because it's been looked at as a detriment. Exactly. But we're changing that, because this will be the first time in history that accessibility actually has a value to it. That when you have a bedroom in a home, that bedroom has a value based on a whole series of criteria, but you've never had that value with accessibility upgrades. And this is the first time that there'll be a box that when a real estate broker checks that box, that means that there's value to that. So for somebody who's listing their home, that home will have more value with those features in place. And it's the first time that that's ever been available.
It's definitely a paradigm shift.
It really is, and we're having to teach people that because they're holding on to the old, but we're changing the system. So we've become the experts now in value for accessibility upgrades. It's really exciting when we talk about that.
Love it. What is the public kind of service going to happen with this in terms of informing consumers that you can now search this way, or you'll be able to search this way? So as this rolls out with the Northwest MLS and goes into Redfin and Zillow and all the search engines that consumers typically use, what kind of conversation will be had with the public? Are we looking at any kind of marketing or any kind of PR that's going to happen to help educate, or is it just going to be a little bit word of mouth?
In the beginning, it will be a little bit of word of mouth, but it's going to go public immediately. There's local TV and news and print that are all waiting. But we're not going to let it go live until we actually have it implemented, because we don't want everybody looking for something that's not there. But we're about ready to launch this. It's exciting to see where it's going to go. And the local media knows it's coming, but we're just waiting until the right time. And once that happens, then it's going to be interesting and see where it goes. I know it is awesome, isn't it?
Really excited for you. This is very cool to be kind of, know you and be on the cusp of something that's going to be a major evolution for I think people buying and selling homes, but also just as our industry evolves.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's the fun part of it, is to be able to look and see when those things change, we'll be able to see it.
Right.
That this is not just something we're talking about. This is something that's literally going to change the way real estate is bought and sold. It's really exciting.
Fantastic.